Good morning and welcome to Signature Morning. I am Godwin Sunday, and with me this morning is Enokora Joel Okoli, Doctor. At least I forgot to add that, and he will be joining us this morning to help us make sense with a conversation about the challenges Nigerians from diaspora encounter, especially when they return back to serve in their motherland. But first, permit me to welcome Dr. Joe Enokora Okoli to the show. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. At least I forget to also mention that Dr. Joe is the former MD and CEO of NSITF. He has served in various capacity also in his lifetime also, and currently he's the vice chairman of the vice president of Abuja Graduate School. You're so welcome to Signature Morning.
Thank you.
Let's get to you talking right away, sir.
Thank you.
First, there are a lot of controversies that tend to be built around your personality when it has to do with the way you left the NSITF. So let's begin with that conversation, and believe that a lot of people don't even know about that conversation. But what actually led to you being suspended from office? People have said that it is due to alleged abuse of office and some other incident. But let's hear from you. What actually happened? What's the story, sir?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this show. And I've agreed to do this show for 4 good reasons. One, for believers in God, to believe that there is always God. Some lady sometime in the past said, "There is God," oh, and people laughed. But truly there is God. If we believe in God, whether Christian or Muslim, God will never let you down. He'll be faithful. So I'm doing this interview because of that, to rekindle faith in God by anybody suffering or going through any tribulations. 2, people in government. When people are in government, they think it is forever. But nothing lasts forever. No condition is permanent. So when you are in government, always bear that in mind, that one day you will be on the other side. So treat people as you would like to be treated. That's my second reason for doing this, because I wasn't treated fairly by people who were above me. And I'm sure they're regretting it today. Then another reason I'm doing this is because of my brothers and sisters in diaspora who are always cajoled about coming home, why are you still abroad, this and that and the other. For them to know that you are not coming home to El Dorado. Oh yes, that even the people who are asking you to come, they might have their ulterior motives for goading you into coming home. And so when you are coming, just know that you are coming, even though it's your country, you are coming home to do battle, even though you are coming to contribute to the development of your nation. I think those reasons suffice for why I've agreed to do this interview. Now, coming to my experience at NSITF, Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. On the 28th of next month, it will be 15 years since I've been in turmoil in my life, career, and because of the experience, the horrible experience I went through, I had to go through as Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. Before that, before NSITF, I had served creditably, honorably, as Chief Management Consultant to the 5th Senate under Senator Ken, distinguished Senator Ken Anamani, before Obasanjo now appointed me first as chairman of NSITF and subsequently as managing director of NSITF. I got there, when I got to NSITF, the organization was almost dead. Why? Because this is an organization that used to employ over 3,000 people when they were collecting pension contributions. Okay, but in 2004, when the Pension Reform Act was enacted, and then pension fund administrators were created, they stopped collecting contributions. So that was the end of NSITF practically. And their staff strength had gone down from over 3,000 to under 100. So Obasanjo challenged me with going in there to reform, revive, and reposition this organization to provide social protection, social safety nets for Nigerians. And that's what social security organizations or agencies worldwide are supposed to do. They are called other names in other climes. But that was my challenge. And what I have in my hand is what I would call my mandate. When I arrived at NSITF, I drew up a mandate as to what I would want to achieve, the legacy I would like to leave behind, I would like to be remembered for after my tenure. And starting with employee compensation scheme. Now, this was this is a scheme that the entire United countries of the world that subscribe to human rights and all that signed up to. But Nigeria had been, if you like, lagging in enacting the act. And the scheme is to provide compensation for anybody injured in a place of work as a result of work. So I defended that bill before President Olusegun Obasanjo Executive Council and also Yaradua before it was accepted as an executive bill. Subsequently made it to National Assembly and was enacted as an act. Now, that bill has the act can employ, with our projection, over 10,000 people. If you consider the number of local governments in the nation, 700 and something, and all the regional offices and all that, employing on average 5 people, you can imagine how many people could and would be employed under that act. As whether the current management of NSITF have reached that, if you like, target is an open question. My information is that they haven't, because if you don't have the vision for something, you can only try, but the challenge will remain for you to attain the heights. Okay, so that was one. Then I also wanted to establish social security studies in Nigeria as a degree program by endowing a chair in Ahmadu Bello University, University of Ibadan, and UNN Nsukka, University of Nigeria Nsukka, to teach social security, to create a program, a degree program, so that we would have experts, people who are competent and knowledgeable about social safety nets. That obviously hasn't happened. And that's something you could just, in fact, we had written to the universities in my time while I was there, and they signed up for this. But unfortunately, I wasn't there long enough to implement that. Then, of course, we had a program to establish our own microfinance bank. And then, if you like, youth housing for young people, and business incubation centers and all that. So we had a whole lot of things planned, but unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. My travel started when one Ngozi Olejeme was appointed chairman by Goodluck Jonathan. And she came, with all due respect, this woman, the highest thing I knew, I found out that she had done in her life was to run a hairdressing salon. And being appointed chairman of a mega institution, a big institution with so much responsibility as Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund was a misfit. So she came there not knowing anything about what the organization was about. She was only there for herself. And she didn't mince words to say it. So she came to me and said that she had run for governorship of Delta State the year before she came, which was, she came in 2009, and that she needed to recoup the funds she expended running for governorship of Delta State. So I said, I'm sorry, madam, this is not the place for you. There is practically no money here. And I brought out the audited accounts. Of course, she couldn't even decipher, understand, or read the audited accounts. I showed it to her. I said, all we had at NSITF was 400 million, no more, no less. And that money was to cushion the transition of NSITF from its moribund situation to activity when the Employee Compensation Act is enacted, and then NSITF would swing back into serious operations. Needless to say, she came with so many outrageous demands on me, including giving her office space in the building, and she was a non-executive chairman, and leverage or leeway to employ staff, about 7 staff, to attend to her constituents. So I told her, sorry, you're in a wrong place. And when I had the opportunity to meet with Jonathan, President Jonathan, I explained the situation to him, told him my shock with such a woman coming as chairman. And Jonathan confessed that he was the person who had put the woman there. Little did I know that this woman had her special relationship with the president, President Jonathan, and Gordon Obua, who was Chief Security Officer to Jonathan. I'm sorry to call names. I have to, and you can verify whatever I say. I'm sorry, I have to mention names, and these are facts. You can check them out, So the woman was too powerful. Ministers were running scared of her, And at the same time as she was appointed chairman of NSITF, Jonathan also appointed her deputy treasurer to PDP, the ruling party. She was deputy to Nenad Usman, who was the treasurer at the time. Can you imagine? This woman didn't go to school, and she was wielding all those, powers, yes, and positions. She was throwing her weight around. So who was I, an ordinary MD and all that? So I was nobody to her. And when she saw that I wasn't buckling, I wasn't going to submit to her intimidation and whatever, she contrived with people from within who were resisting the reforms I had come to implement. People from within and from without. They came up with an allegation that I had, they didn't really say stolen, because they couldn't prove that anything was missing. They said I had refused to transfer 1.6 billion to trust fund, the pension administrator. That was the accusation. Not that I stole the money, because if you say somebody stole the money, you show the trail, how the money left. First of all, there was no 1.6 billion at NSITF at the time. All we had was 400 million. And out of that 400 million, we used 100 million to establish ProHealth, HMO, which I hope is still, operating today, amongst the health maintenance organizations. So they came up with this allegation. Ridiculous, baseless, empty allegations. I wasn't ruffled. I said, excuse me, please, prove it, And the next thing, I was to be suspended without any investigation. They are suspending me. What are you suspending me for? But it didn't bother me because I said, well, I'll go on suspension. You will find that there's nothing there, and I'll come back. But I was naive. I didn't know. But I don't know if we were to do it again, whether I should have even allowed myself to be suspended. One, they didn't have Okoli'Sjourney didn't have the authority, the right to suspend any chief executive officer appointed by the president. Yes. In fact, let people know this. If you are a chief executive of any parastatal, your board cannot suspend you. It's only the president who appointed you that can suspend or remove you from office. But in my naivety, so to speak, and also not having gone through this kind of traumatic experience and useless way of doing business, I left. Then, of course, whether they carried out any investigation or not, I didn't know. Nothing was happening. The next thing, the minister then, Adetokunbo Kayode, now wrote to me to extend the suspension indefinitely. Then there was also a report to the police. The police investigated, did a detailed investigation of the allegations, and exonerated me fully, wholly, of any wrongdoing. Then I expected that after the police investigation report that I would be recalled, but that didn't happen. So, of course, I didn't keep quiet. I wrote to President Obasanjo, who appointed me. Obasanjo called Jonathan. Jonathan was in Enugu on that very day. I was in Abeokuta with OBJ. OBJ called Jonathan and asked Jonathan to see me. I went, saw Jonathan, explained the whole thing to him, and he was really sorry that I was going through all that madness. He said he was going to investigate. Nothing happened. I wrote to successive ministers for labor, Tokumbo, and what's his name? The guy Wogu, who replaced him. But they were all scared of this woman because the woman was like a terrorist. She was terrorizing ministers because, she could go to the president or the chief security officer of the president and say anything, and you'll be removed. Stories are told that she made Tokumbo Kayode interim minister of justice, because Tokumbo cooperated with her to remove me, because Tokumbo also had his own agenda and all that. Look, if I'm to tell, I hope one day I will write my experience. It will make a very interesting reading, because every single person along the line had their own agenda. So all the people wrote to the secretary to the government, wrote to even General Gowon, intervened. But all representations on my behalf seeking for justice were ignored. So it has been a horrible, horrible experience, which I do not and will never wish even on my worst enemy.
Dr. Joe, you forgot to also mention the part of the car allegation. Said you took public funds to get personal cars and vehicles for yourself. How correct is that information?
My dear, that there's no truth at all in that. Um, and the police investigator, it's in the police report. Um, what usually happens when cars are boarded, when old vehicles are to be sold, you get the Federal Ministry of Works people to come and report on the status of each vehicle, and that was done. Then you now write a memo to the supervising minister who goes through the report and approves yea or nay whether to sell off the cars or not. And there were several cars that were sold, very old vehicles, Toyota Condors and stuff. Nothing extraordinary, nothing new. And several staff purchased, as I did, at the prices published. Nothing, nothing extraordinary, nothing there. And I was exonerated because the ministerial approval to sell those vehicles were there.
All right, Doctor, let's look at this other side of the conversation. Many people don't know that you've spent quite a lot of years outside the shores of Nigeria. Many people are not aware of this. Now, how did your friends and family members, especially people that know you in out in diaspora, how did they react to these allegations? Did you get calls from abroad? Was there like a form for? Let's get you talk to us on this.
My goodness. Well, my friends from abroad, they were in shock, total shock about what I was going through. Some of them were saying, Joe, why did you even bother going there? Didn't you know that that place is, is an evil forest or something, But how would I know? How I even got noticed while whilst in diaspora. I had my education in Canada, my postgraduate and qualifications and all that in Canada. Then came out to UK to work. Started off as editor with West Africa International Magazine, and then worked with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the British Ministry of Trade and Industry, before going into my own private business in property and education and training. As at the time I came back to Nigeria, I had 5 um, educational centers in London, in Greater London. And there was this television company, Echoes from the Valley, they call themselves. What they were doing, that was how I was found in the first place. What they were doing was, whichever country, foreign country they went to, they go to the Nigeria High Commission and ask for names of Nigerians that were doing relatively well, financially and otherwise. So that was how I got a call. They came to my office, interviewed me, and then several other people, of course, from different countries. They interviewed me and they aired their interview, their broadcast on Nigerian television, I think AIT then also, and NTA. So then Obasanjo came along, and Obasanjo must be credited and respected for recognizing Nigerians in diaspora and what they can do. Obasanjo, whichever country he visited, he would ask the High Commission or embassy in that country to invite Nigerians, respectable Nigerians, to lunch or dinner. So that was how I first met Obasanjo. And then when the opportunity came, Kenan Amani became Senate president. I was recommended to him as somebody who could come and sort out his management affairs in the Senate. And so I got the usual phone call, and I came back, worked creditably with Kenan Amani, and you can go and verify. The first internet in that National Assembly was put in by me, and this was in 2005. So my friends in diaspora who were thinking that, oh, if or if and when Joe gets there and gets settled, it will be a platform for them to start coming. But when they saw or heard about my experience, till tomorrow, very few diasporian Nigerians would want to come here for anything, which is very sad, because we have eminent and highly qualified Nigerians out there who can add value to what is going on, to rapid development of this country. But unfortunately, that hope is continually being dashed and rubbished, you know. So to answer your question, they could not believe what was happening to me. And some of them will say, if it can happen to Joe Okoli, then forget it for, less. Because I'm known as a strong man. People, say that, and I don't know that I'm that strong. but they say if it can happen to Joe Okoli, then, there will be a small fry, So they were totally disappointed, and that fear on their part about coming home is still, in fact, it's been amplified, especially now.
So how then did your family now receive the report?
Who? My family? Well, I thank God I'm blessed with a very good wife, a very professional person. By the way, to talk about her, she's the first African woman to be appointed Director of Public Health in England. In spite of their racism, she's a Nigerian, of course. In spite of their racism and all that, she was combining the position of Medical Director and Director of Public Health in England, the first woman ever, African woman. So being an intelligent woman, very professional, and she comes from a very academic family, she could help me, analyze what was happening to me and remain a pillar of support and, sounding board throughout the ordeal. As for my children, I'm sorry to say they haven't recovered from that. Only one of them has been brave enough to come back. And even that one that came back, sometimes he regrets being here. The other three, we have 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. The other 3, I think you need to, I don't know what you will offer them to come back to Nigeria, given what happened to their father. So it has been a horrible experience.
All right, so Dr. Joe, again, let's talk about your professional career and life.
Yeah.
Did this suspension and allegation, did it in any way affected or impacted on your professional life?
Of course, it has impacted on my professional life because it's been a setback, a serious setback. Because if I had not been unlawfully, wrongfully, illegally suspended and didn't serve out my tenure, if I had been allowed to implement half of what I wanted to do at NSITF, believe you me, if I'm invited to serve at the United Nations, it won't be a misplacement at all. It won't be, look at Adeshina, who served as Minister of Agriculture from here straight to AU, African Development Bank. Look at Arumote. She was here as something SEC. She moved from here. If I had been allowed to serve out my term, and if I had implemented all the programs I had for NSITF, I am sure, very confident that I would have been operating at the international. I could have gone to the World Bank. I could have gone to AU. I could have gone to, the list would have been ECOWAS, because it was very clear in my mind what to do and how to go about doing them, for posterity and for effective development of our economy. Look, Whatever I say, you can go and verify. Even staff of NSITF, those of them that are still there, some have left, will tell you that I was the best managing director NSITF ever had. To start with, when I arrived at NS, let me give you one clear example. I arrived at NSITF. In those days, they will buy all the newspapers and international magazines and pile up on your table. And this was costing over 100,000 a month. Okay. So I said to them, I have not come here to read newspapers. Who are these newspapers for? You know? So I stopped the newspaper expenditure. I said, every head of department should be entitled to one newspaper a day. And then you swap. If this person has this day, then after reading it, you collect a Tribune or Sun from another person and all that. And that should be enough. I didn't realize that I was stepping on toes, people who were benefiting from that. All right? Okay. So that was my first, if you like, shock that people would resist, rationalization of expenditure like that. Then another thing, every office, they still have this today. Every office has television. You come to an office, they're watching Nigerian something. What do you call these things? Nigerian film, African.
Nollywood.
Nollywood.
Yeah.
And I said, excuse me, why do we have all these TVs in the offices? Put TV in the staff common room. When people are on break, they go there and watch TV. Put one in the reception for people waiting to see officers. That was a problem. I didn't know that, again, I was affecting people's idiosyncrasies and all that. Okay. Today, they still have TVs everywhere, but if I had stayed long enough in NSITF, that would have been a thing of the past. Nobody would be dreaming of that. Then I was the first person to introduce the ICT skills and competencies. Every staff must have a laptop. Yes, sponsored by the organization. To prepare them for, if you like, digital economy that is still unfolding, so that everybody will be able to communicate online and all that. I did that. So, and so forth, honestly. Then publications. They were not publishing anything. Within less than 2 years I was there, I came out with several publications on social security. Because I said, first I set up research and publications department. It didn't exist before me. Because I said, whatever we do should be a model, and we should publish it. We will even make money from that. But above all, we shall be disseminating knowledge and information
On social security.
exactly
Yeah.
on social security. So all these publications, were put out during my tenure, and of course I convened the first national conference, and subsequently established the National Working Committee on Social Security, with General Gowan as chairman. And General Gowan has been a personal friend all these years, and he accepted to chair this National Working Committee on Social Security. Where is the report of this working committee to reposition or position Social Security for Nigerians? The report is there somewhere, if they still have it, on a pile in one office or the other. So we had so much to do that we are stunted, blunted by Ngozi Olejeme and the people she used you know. Yeah, very sad.
Doctor, let's bring this back to you again. Looking at the petitioners in this case, they're tagged faceless petitioners. Now, what happened after then? Did the police go after the petitioners? Were they arrested? What? Then again, one would want to ask if a person like Ngozi Olejeme could have such an influence to be able to take out a sitting MD and CEO of NSIT. What then is the future of NSIT? Looking at the generality of it and its structures, is it to say at this point in time that NSIT in itself does not have an operational, as it stands right now? Can what has happened then, can it still be replicated now? Can it happen now? Because right now we don't even hear much of developmental strides by the NSAIT. So I need to look at this and let's do a comparison of then and now. That action then and now. You're starting from there, then looking at the police could investigate you, but we've not heard returns of police or the information of police investigating the faceless petitioners. So let's get you talk to us from this angle.
Good, thank you very much. First, starting with Olejeme. Olejeme didn't just want to get rid of me. She was on a mission to loot the place, and she did. She knew that there was no way she was going to do it under my charge, under my watch. It was impossible, because I made it clear to her that I did not apply for the job, and I had a very good career in London before I came back here. So she could never, ever get me to do anything untoward, anything illegal. So she had to get rid of me. And having gotten rid of me, she set on, if you like, total exploitation and looting of NSITF, which was all in the papers. Billions of naira she looted. At some point it was reported that she and her cohorts had houses everywhere in Nigeria, up to 40-something houses. What you would do with that number of houses, only God knows. Anyways, but she was subsequently, after Jonathan's tenure ended, she was arrested and prosecuted. But sadly, in fact, I went to court. I offered to testify as a prosecution witness, but they said, that I was
It's malicious prosecution.
No. They said that I didn't engage in any transaction with her. That had I done that, then I would have been useful to them. But I was in court. I saw her sitting in the dock, covering her face like whatever she was. Anyways, so they charged her, prosecuted her, and we were waiting for her to be sentenced to a good number of years in prison, only to hear that she has bought her way into, some...
Plea bargaining?
No, well, she had joined the APC. There was a time, I think, was it Adams Oshimole or somebody was quoted as saying that if you join APC, all your sins are forgiven. That was in the national, domain. Everybody had that. So she joined the APC, and her sins have been forgiven. But at least EFCC recovered a whole lot of her loot, I believe, and that was when they took her to court. Now, then the faceless individuals, the whole thing was orchestrated. The petition was submitted by an organization that didn't even exist, by names that never worked for NSITF at the time and in the past. Were they investigated? Certainly not to my knowledge, because why would they be investigated if they were, if you like, procured by Olejeme, who was supreme and all-powerful woman at the time? In fact, Olejeme was alleged to be in control of the police gentleman, one Anthony Obizi from Ogoja. Anthony Obizi or something. Mike Obizi was the assistant commissioner of police at the time. He was the person who allegedly used, to investigate the case. But still, he couldn't find anything against me, the Obizi guy. So to answer your question, I don't think any of those faceless individuals were prosecuted at all. We are in Nigeria. We know how the judiciary is it's unbelievably corrupt now. Even my case, when it went to court, do you know that NSITF was paying the lawyers defending NSITF over 200 million, more than my claim? Yes. And they were sustained, encouraged to continue appealing, prolonging the case and all that, so that they will continue collecting their money. So in terms of investigation, who investigates who in Nigeria today, if not just to collect money from both sides, if it's, with whatever they can collect. So now, whether this kind of thing could still happen or is still happening, your guess is as good as mine. Oh yes, because what will stop it, when the entire system is convoluted, So it's a very, very sad story. We've lost the judiciary, the police, don't have anything to do with Nigerian police if you care,
Doctor, just as we begin to wrap up right now, let's talk about Africans and Nigerians in diaspora when they return back home. Use the case of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and yourself sitting down here. Can we say that this is a case of victimization for Nigerian and diaspora returnees as it stands right now? Perhaps because they are trying to change a system so they get victimized, or they just want to be kicked out of the system, or what can you say about these issues of Nigerians that have returned back to the country trying to make things work and they are being attacked even by their own? Should there be a yardstick by the government, or shouldn't there be a yardstick by the government to ensure that Nigerians returnees from the diaspora get protected, and also their policies get their policy statement gets upholded or some form? But let's get you talk. You're the professional in this field.
My dear, it's a big question, because you can't make special rules for Nigerians in diaspora. You can't roll two parallel systems. If the system is good, anybody will have to work within it. But if the system is rotten, then the innocent people will suffer the most, especially people coming from diaspora. One, people from diaspora have been exposed. Some of them studied abroad. All their working life has been in established systems and legal environments and all that. And then they come back with skills and knowledge and come back with passion to make a contribution. Then they come home. Now, there are people in the system who have been waiting to become directors and all that, and they see you trying to cut out privileges. They say, no, not here. You can't operate here, because they've been waiting for their turn to exploit the system, to benefit from the system, and you are coming to stop them, so they work against you straight away, So it's a difficult situation to really, if you like, explain. You see, but the important thing, the diaspora people come in. In fact, if there should be a platform, which I try to create, where they will be inducted, exposed to what they will be facing once they are back and employed in the system, then they'll be better prepared.
You mean the victimization syndrome?
Yes. They'll be better. They will know that they'll be attacked from within and from without by people who feel that, oh, these people, you've been living out well there, and now you are coming back to stop us from benefiting. So if they are prepared, that they are going to be facing scenarios like that, they won't be in as much shock as per my own experience, because I didn't for 1 minute expect that people would want to stop me from my declared intentions, and I had no interest. Look, what can I say? I've talked about newspaper that they were piling up, and I said, no, I don't need all that. The car I was using as chairman, they wanted to buy me a brand new car when I became MD. I said, no, I still have this car, chairman's car. I will continue using it. But an average Nigerian homegrown would say, of course, this car belonged to when I was chairman. Buy me another
The
one.
next level car.
Oh, yes. And then think about this. The car even they bought eventually for the position. There was a choice between leather upholstery and cloth. What did I go for? Cloth. Because of the price difference. And that's the mentality you come with from diaspora. And then the people here, of course, none of them, if given a choice of leather upholstery, tear leather, and what do you call it? Cloth. None of them will choose cloth. But I did. I chose cloth because it was cheaper. Then this business of posting everybody's photo, president, minister, this, I said, excuse me, is it for people to know? They already know who you are. Why must you put your photo everywhere? And if you know how much those things cost, money wasted left, right, and center. So you come back with this mentality to stop some of these excesses. You are wasting your time because those photographs are produced in connivance with staff. It's a contract. The newspaper is a contract. You buy a vehicle, it's a contract. Anything you do is a contract for some people. You see.
This is quite deep.
Yeah. As I said, if I write my memoir about Nigerian public service, it will make an interesting reading. But,
All right, Doctor, just on the last note before we let you go, are there measures, let's talk recommendations right now, are there measures that can be taken by the government in order to prevent abuse of power and unfair treatment, especially to people that have been, just like your case? What recommendations can you give to the government at this point?
It's difficult to advise Nigerian government.
At least we can profile. We can profile solution.
Oh, God. Well, you see, I don't know, to be honest. You see, let me give you an example. Steve Orosanya, I knew him during Obasanjo days. In fact, Obasanjo, I must say it loud and clear, he is the best president this country has ever had. Very patriotic, very, non-tribalistic, and very forward-looking and all that. He meant so well for this country. But it's a long story. And even some people will say, but how about the third term? There was a reason for the third term. I won't go into that, But Obasanjo commissioned Orosanya report. That Orosanya report, has it been implemented? No. Even this government is saying something about implementing it, but they are doing it selectively. If you are to implement Orosanya report, billions will be saved for this government, and that money could go into social protection, into infrastructure development, into a whole lot of things. In Orosanya report, in fact, I should mention this. This NIMSI, an organization set up to just issue ID cards. if you know how much they are allocated every year, you cringe. And while I was MD of NSITF, I started negotiation. I did a memo to government that NIMSI and NSITF should merge, because in other climes, social security numbers are issued to every individual. And that's what this agency is doing, nothing more. And for that, billions is spent. So I said, if they can be merged with NSITF, never mind that I was MD, I won't be MD forever, but the economy of scale there was evident, was very clear. But were they interested? No. Of course, people at NIMSI will do everything to fight you. There are people, the National Assembly members who are supposed to be overseeing or oversighting NIMSI will fight you. Excuse me, you know. So where do we go from here? Where we go from here is that the president, whosoever is president of this country, must start with himself. Leadership by example. Because when you lead by example, then it will be easy for you to discipline anybody, ministers and executives who misbehave or who abuse their positions. But if you don't start with yourself, I mean, it's a waste of time. It will be business as usual. So I'm sorry, I can't help you with that question, other than to say that.
Doctor, there are a lot of things to discuss with you
Honestly,
today. A lot of things I wish we can talk if we have more time, but time is fast spent. I've been signaled right now by my producer that we really need to go. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of Signature Morning today, Dr. Enukora, Joe Okoli. It's a privilege having you on the show today.
Thank you.
And hope when next we need you on the show, you'll be available for us.
Thank you very much. I must commend the good work the media are doing in this country, okay? And the media should remain the conscience of the people. You should not relent in pursuing the truth. Truth, somebody sent me a congratulatory message saying, truth is like a lion. You let it out, it will defend itself anytime, anywhere. So please, you know, you, the media houses of this country, you know, you have to keep trying in spite of all threats and intimidation, you know. And that's one thing that can help this country a great deal. Thank you.
Doctor, we'll keep trying. Thank you so much for your time. Well, viewers, this is how far we can go today on Signature Morning. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. We'll return you back to our Enugu office for more updates on Signature Morning. I remain Godwin Sunday.